Clara May Whitmore fell to her knees in the snow and begged God to let her children live. Her 5-year-old son slipped from her frozen fingers. "Mama!" her daughter screamed behind her. "Mama, get up!" But Clara couldn't move. 300 miles of running, and this was where it would end, a stranger's gate in Wyoming territory. She had no food, no money, no hope, just 3 children who didn't deserve to die for their mother's mistakes. Then the ranch house door swung open. Subscribe now and follow Clara's journey to the very end. Drop your city in the comments, let me see how far this story travels. The man who stepped out didn't run. He walked through the blizzard like it was nothing. "Mama." Emmy pulled at Clara's arm. "Mama, please. You have to get up." "I can't, baby." Clara's voice cracked. "I can't feel my legs." "Yes, you can. You have to." The man reached them. He looked down at Clara, then at the 3 children huddled behind her. "Ma'am." His voice cut through the wind. "How long you been out here?" "I don't know." Clara tried to stand. Failed. "An hour, maybe 2. "Lord have mercy." He crouched down. "I'm gonna pick you up now. Don't fight me." "My children. They're coming too." He looked at Emmy. "Girl, can you walk?" Emmy's chin lifted. "I ain't a girl. I'm 11 years old." "Fair enough. Can you walk, miss?" "Yes, sir." "Then take your brothers and follow me. Doors open. Get inside and don't touch nothing till I get there." Emmy hesitated. Her eyes darted to her mother. "Emmy." Clara grabbed her daughter's hand. "Do as he says." "But Mama." "Now, Emmy." The girl took Tommy's hand. Tommy grabbed Benny. The 3 of them stumbled toward the house. The man slid his arms under Clara and lifted her like she weighed nothing. "Put me down," Clara said. "I can walk." "No, ma'am, you can't." "I don't need—" "With respect, ma'am, you need a lot of things right now. Walking ain't one of them." He carried her up the porch steps. His boots hit the wood heavy and sure. Clara wanted to fight him, to push him away, to prove she didn't need anyone's help. But she was so tired of fighting. The warmth inside hit her like a fist. Clara gasped. Her fingers burned. Her toes screamed. "That's the feeling coming back," the man said. "It's gonna hurt like hell for a while. You just breathe through it." He set her down in a chair by the stove. Emmy had already gathered her brothers near the wall. Benny was shivering. Tommy had his arm around him. "You." The man pointed at Emmy. "What's your name?" "Emmeline. Emmeline Whitmore." "Emmeline, I need to check your brothers for frostbite. You know what that is." "I know what it is." "Good. Can I look at their hands and feet?" Emmy stepped in front of Tommy and Benny. "Why should I let you?" Clara's heart clenched. "Emmy." "No, Mama. We don't know him. You always said don't trust strangers." The man crouched down to Emmy's level. He moved slow, keeping his hands where she could see them. "You're right," he said. "You don't know me, and your mama taught you well. But here's the truth, Emmeline. If your brothers got frostbite and I don't catch it now, they could lose fingers, maybe toes. I ain't trying to hurt nobody. I'm trying to help." Emmy studied him. Her jaw was set hard, but Clara could see the fear underneath. "You let me check," the man continued. "And if at any point you don't like what I'm doing, you tell me to stop. I'll stop. You got my word." Emmy looked at her mother. Clara nodded. "Fine." Emmy stepped aside. "But I'm watching you." "I'd expect nothing less." He examined each child with careful hands. He talked the whole time low and steady. "Wiggle your fingers for me, son. Good. Now your toes. That hurt. No good. You're gonna be just fine." Benny stared at him with wide eyes. "Are you a cowboy?" "Reckon I am. A real one. Real as they come." "Do you got horses?" "Got 3. "3?" Benny's face lit up. "Can I see them?" Maybe tomorrow, if your mama says it's all right." Tommy hadn't said a word. He just watched the man with dark, suspicious eyes, eyes too old for a boy of 8. "What about you, son?" The man looked at Tommy. "You got any questions for me?" Tommy's jaw tightened. "Just one. Let's hear it." "Did you ever hit your wife?" The room went silent. Clara's breath caught in her throat. "Thomas." "It's a fair question." The man didn't look away from Tommy. "I was married once. Her name was Ruth. She died 6 years ago along with our daughter." "That ain't what I asked." "No, it ain't." The man's voice was steady. "No, son. I never hit my wife. Not once. Not ever." "Why not?" "Because a man who raises his hand to a woman ain't a man at all. He's a coward wearing a man's skin." Tommy's eyes flickered. "My pa hit my mama, all the time." "I know." "How do you know?" "Because your mama flinched when I reached for her. Because your sister stands in front of you like a shield. Because you're asking me questions a boy your age shouldn't have to ask." He put his hand on Tommy's shoulder. "I ain't your pa's son. And I ain't never gonna hurt your mama. You got my word on that." Tommy stared at him for a long moment. Then something in his face shifted. Not trust, not yet, but something close to it. "Okay," Tommy said. "Okay." The man stood and turned to Clara. "Your turn, ma'am." "I'm fine." "You ain't fine. Let me see your hands." Clara held them out. She couldn't hide the shaking. He took her hands in his, turned them over, pressed his thumbs against her palms. His hands were warm and rough and impossibly gentle. "You got frostbite on your fingertips," he said. "It ain't bad, but it needs tending. I got salve that'll help." "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." He let go of her hands. "I ain't asked you what you're doing out in a blizzard with 3 children and no horse." Clara's chest tightened. "Does it matter?" "Might." "And if I don't want to tell you?" "Then you don't tell me." He walked to a cabinet, pulled out a jar. "But you're gonna stay here tonight regardless. Storm won't let up till morning at least. Maybe longer." "I can't impose—" "Ma'am." He turned to look at her. "You got 3 hungry children, frozen hands, and nowhere else to go. This ain't imposing. This is surviving." Clara wanted to argue. She'd been arguing her whole life with her father, with her husband, with every person who'd tried to tell her what she could and couldn't do. But this man wasn't telling her. He was offering. "What's your name?" she asked. "Josiah Callahan. Folks call me Joe." "I'm Clara, Clara Whitmore." "I know. Your girl told me." He set the jar of salve on the table beside her. "You hungry, Clara?" Her stomach answered for her a loud, embarrassing growl. Joe almost smiled. "I'll take that as a yes." He walked to the stove, lifted the lid on a pot, and ladled something into a bowl. The smell hit Clara like a memory beans and salt pork, and something green she couldn't name. "When's the last time you ate?" Joe asked. Clara didn't answer. "Mama." Emmy's voice was small. "When did we eat last?" 2 days ago, Tommy said quietly. "That piece of bread from the church lady." Joe's jaw tightened. He didn't say anything, just filled 4 more bowls and brought them over one by one. "Eat slow," he told the children. "Your stomachs ain't used to food. You eat too fast, you'll get sick." Benny grabbed his bowl with both hands and started slurping. Tommy elbowed him. "He said slow, dummy." "Don't call your brother names," Clara said automatically. "Yes, ma'am." Joe brought the last bowl to Clara. She stared at it. Her hands were shaking too hard to hold it. "Here." He set it on the small table beside her. "Take your time." "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" "Helping us. You don't know us. You don't owe us anything." Joe was quiet for a moment. He pulled up a chair and sat across from her. 6 years ago, he said. I lost everything. My wife, my daughter, my reason for getting up in the morning. I wanted to die, Clara. I walked out into a storm just like this one, hoping the cold would take me. Clara's heart clenched. A stranger found me. Old rancher named Henry Dawson. He brought me to his place, warmed me up, fed me. Didn't ask questions, didn't judge, just gave me a place to be until I figured out if I wanted to keep living. Did you? Clara whispered. Figure it out. I'm still here, ain't I? She looked at him, really looked at him. The scar on his cheek, the lines around his eyes, the weight in his shoulders that came from carrying too much for too long. Henry died 2 years later, Joe continued. Left me this ranch. I ain't never had a chance to pay back what he did for me, but maybe I can pay it forward. Clara's eyes burned. She blinked hard. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just eat. She picked up the spoon. The first taste of hot soup hit her tongue and she had to close her eyes. It was the best thing she'd ever tasted. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. Joe nodded. He stood, walked to the window, looked out at the storm. Blizzard's gonna last a while, he said. You and the children can sleep in the back room. There's a bed, some blankets. Ain't much, but it's warm. Where will you sleep? I got a cot in the loft. I'll be fine. I can't take your bed. You ain't taking my bed. You're taking the spare room. He turned from the window. I built this house with 4 bedrooms, Clara. I ain't using but one. Take the room, get some rest. We can talk more in the morning. Clara wanted to argue, but Emmy was already asleep against Tommy's shoulder. Benny was fighting to keep his eyes open, and Clara herself felt like she could sleep for 100 years. Okay, she said. Thank you, Joe. You're welcome, Clara. She gathered the children and led them to the back room. It was small, just a bed, a dresser, and a window, looking out at nothing but white. But it was warm, and dry, and safe. Mama, Emmy murmured as Clara tucked her in. Yes, baby. Is he a good man? Clara thought about all the men she'd known. Her father who'd sold her off when she was 16. Her husband who'd made her believe love was supposed to hurt. The strangers in the towns they'd passed through who'd looked at her like she was something to be used. I don't know yet, she said honestly. But he hasn't given us reason to think otherwise. I like him, Benny mumbled. He's got 3 horses. That don't make him good, Tommy said. It makes him nice. Nice ain't the same as good. Boys. Clara pulled the blanket up to their chins. Go to sleep. Yes, ma'am. She sat on the edge of the bed watching them. 3 children. 3 reasons to keep breathing. 3 hearts she'd die to protect. Outside the wind howled. The windows rattled. The storm raged on. But inside this stranger's house her children were warm and fed and sleeping. For the first time in 2 years, Clara let herself breathe. She woke in the dark to the sound of footsteps. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She sat up, hand reaching under the pillow for the knife. No knife. She'd lost it 3 towns back. The footsteps stopped outside her door. Clara's blood turned to ice. She knew those footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. The footsteps of a man who wanted you to know he was coming. Silas. Mama? Benny stirred beside her. Mama, what's wrong? Shh. Clara pressed her hand over his mouth. Stay quiet, baby. Don't make a sound. She slid out of bed. The floor was cold under her bare feet. She grabbed the only thing within reach, a heavy brass candlestick, and crept toward the door. 1 step, 2, 3. She raised the candlestick, pulled open the door. Joe stood in the hallway, rifle in hand. Clara nearly collapsed. Easy. Joe lowered the rifle. Easy. It's just me. I thought... She couldn't finish. Her legs gave out. Joe caught her before she hit the ground. "I heard something outside," he said quietly. "Went to check. It was just a coyote." Clara's whole body was shaking. She couldn't stop it. "Hey!" Joe's voice was gentle. "Look at me. Clara, look at me." She looked up. His eyes were steady, calm, safe. "He ain't here," Joe said. "Whoever you're running from, he ain't here. And if he comes, I'll know long before he reaches this house." "You don't understand." Clara's voice broke. "You don't know what he's capable of." "Then tell me." She shook her head. "I can't." "Why not?" "Because if I tell you, you'll send us away. And I can't go back out there, Joe. Not tonight. Please. Just let us stay until morning. Then we'll leave, and you'll never have to." "Clara." His hands gripped her shoulders. "I ain't sending you anywhere. You hear me? You and your children can stay here as long as you need." "You don't mean that." "I don't say things I don't mean." She stared at him. This man she'd known for less than a day. This stranger who'd carried her out of the cold, fed her children, given her a bed. "Why?" she whispered. "Why do you care what happens to us?" Joe was quiet for a long moment. Then he released her shoulders and stepped back. "Because 6 years ago, somebody cared what happened to me. And I ain't about to let that go to waste." He turned toward the door. "Joe." He stopped. "Thank you." He nodded once. Then he was gone. Clara stood in the hallway, candlestick still clutched in her hand, heart still pounding in her chest. She thought about Silas. About the letter she'd found in her bag 3 towns back, the one he'd somehow slipped in without her knowing. "I'm coming for what's mine." He meant Emmy, their eldest, the only one who looked like him. Clara had burned the letter, but the words were seared into her brain. She walked back to the bed, lay down beside her children, pulled them close. She didn't sleep. She couldn't. But she held them, and she listened to them breathe, and she made a promise she wasn't sure she could keep. "He won't touch you. He won't take you. I'll die before I let that happen." The storm lasted 3 more days. Clara learned the rhythms of Joe's house, the creak of the floorboards when he rose before dawn, the smell of coffee brewing on the stove, the sound of his boots on the porch as he checked the animals. She learned that he talked to his horses like old friends. "Morning, Dusty. You sleep all right?" "Yeah, me neither." She learned that he read from the Bible every night, but never talked about God. She learned that he carved wooden figures when his hands needed something to do: a horse, a bird, a little doll he gave to Emmy without ceremony. "Made this when I was young," he said. "Don't know why I kept it. Figured your girl might want it." Emmy stared at the doll, then at Joe, then at the doll again. "Thank you," she whispered, and she held it like it was the most precious thing in the world. On the 3rd night, Clara found Joe on the porch watching the storm die down. "Mind if I sit?" she asked. He nodded toward the empty chair. She sat. The cold bit at her cheeks, but she didn't mind. The air smelled clean, like something washed new. "Storm's almost over," Joe said. "I know." "Roads should be clear in a few days." Clara's chest tightened. "I know. You still planning to head west?" She didn't answer. She looked out at the endless white and thought about all the miles behind her, all the running, all the fear. "I don't know," she admitted. "I've been running so long I forgot what I was running toward." "What are you running from, Clara?" She could lie. She'd gotten good at lying over the years. But something about this man, this quiet, steady man, made her want to tell the truth. "My husband," she said. "Silas Hargrove. We were married 11 years. He hit me for 10 of them." Joe's jaw tightened. He said nothing. "I left him 2 winters ago, took the children and ran in the middle of the night. I thought if I got far enough away he'd forget about us." She laughed bitterly. "He didn't. He's following you. Town to town, state to state. He always finds us. I don't know how, but he always does." He ever touched the children? Clara's voice went cold. Once. He hit Emmy when she tried to stop him from hitting me. That was the night I left. Joe stood. He walked to the edge of the porch, hands gripping the railing. Where is he now? I don't know. Could be in Kansas. Could be riding toward this ranch right now. Let him come. Clara stood. You don't understand. I understand plenty. Joe turned to face her. I understand you've been running for 2 years with 3 children and no help. I understand you're scared and tired and half-starved. I understand you think you're alone in this. I am alone? No. He stepped toward her. You ain't. Not anymore. Joe. I ain't a hero, Clara. I ain't trying to be one. But I know what it's like to lose everything. And I know what it feels like when somebody gives you a second chance. He stopped in front of her, close enough to touch. Stay, he said. What? Stay here. You and the children. As long as you need. As long as you want. I can't ask you to... You ain't asking. I'm offering. Clara's eyes burned. And if Silas comes, then he'll find me standing between him and you. He'll kill you. He can try. Joe, this isn't your fight. It is now. She stared at him. This man she barely knew. This stranger who was offering her everything she'd ever wanted, safety, shelter, someone to stand beside her. Why? She whispered. Why would you do this for us? Joe reached out and wiped a tear from her cheek. She hadn't even realized she was crying. I don't know, he said honestly. But I do, and that's enough for now. Clara closed her eyes. She thought about hope, how dangerous it was. How it could break you worse than despair ever could. But standing here in the cold and the dark, with this man's hand warm against her face, she hoped anyway. Okay, she whispered. Okay. We'll stay. She opened her eyes. We'll stay and see what happens. Joe nodded. Something shifted in his face, not quite a smile, but close. That's all I'm asking. The next morning, Emmy found her mother at the window. Are we leaving? Clara turned. Her daughter's face was carefully blank. No, baby, not yet. How long are we staying? I don't know. Emmy was quiet. Then, is he going to be our new pa? Clara's breath caught. It's not like that. But it could be, couldn't it? She thought about last night. About Joe's hand on her cheek. About the way he looked at her like she was worth something. I don't know, she said. Would that be so bad? Emmy considered this. He gave me a doll. I know. Pa never gave me anything. He only took. Clara's heart broke. I know, baby. So maybe it wouldn't be so bad, having someone who gives. Clara pulled her daughter close. Maybe not. Outside, Joe looked up from his work. He saw them at the window and raised his hand. Emmy waved back. Clara watched her daughter's face. The fear was still there. It would take more than a few days to erase years of learning to be afraid. But underneath it, something else was growing. Hope. The same dangerous, beautiful thing growing in Clara's own chest. She thought about Silas, about the letter, about the promise she'd made in the dark. He was out there somewhere, hunting, searching, coming. The storm had passed, but Clara knew another one was building, and this time she wouldn't face it alone. The days settled into a rhythm Clara hadn't known in years. She woke each morning to the smell of coffee and the sound of Joe's boots on the porch. The children rose with the sun, eager to help, eager to belong. Mama, can I feed the chickens? Mama, Joe said he'd teach me to saddle a horse. Mama, watch me. Watch what I learned. Clara watched. She watched everything. On the 5th morning, Joe handed her an axe. You know how to use this. I've split wood before. Show me. She took the axe, swung it down. The wood split clean. Joe nodded. Good form, but you're using your arms too much. Power comes from your hips. I know where power comes from. Then use it. She swung again, harder. The wood flew apart. Better. Joe picked up the pieces. You're stronger than you look. I've had to be. He didn't argue, just handed her another log. They worked side by side for an hour. Clara's arms burned, her back ached, but it felt good, clean, honest work that left no room for fear. Can I ask you something? Joe said. Depends on what it is. Your husband, Silas. What kind of man is he? Clara's grip tightened on the axe. The worst kind. That ain't an answer. It's the only one I got. Joe set down his axe. Clara, if he's coming for you, I need to know what I'm dealing with. Is he smart reckless? Does he plan, or does he act on impulse? Clara drove the axe into the chopping block. He's patient. That's what makes him dangerous. He doesn't rush. He waits, studies, learns your weaknesses. Then he strikes when you least expect it. Sounds like a hunter. That's exactly what he is. Clara wiped sweat from her forehead. He tracked deer for a living before we married. Now he tracks people, me, the children, anyone who helps us. Anyone who helps you? There was a woman in Nebraska, a widow. She let us stay in her barn for 3 nights. Clara's voice went flat. Silas burned it down. She lost everything. Joe's jaw tightened. He'd do that to everyone who helps you. Everyone. That's why I tried to keep moving, why I didn't want to stay here. She looked at him. I'm putting you in danger, Joe. Just by being here. I can handle danger. Not this kind. What kind is that? Clara stepped closer. The kind that doesn't fight fair. The kind that waits until you're asleep, then slits your throat. The kind that poisons your well, shoots your horses, burns your barn with your animals still inside. Her voice cracked. He's not a man, Joe. He's a monster wearing a man's face. Joe didn't flinch. Then we'll be ready for him. You can't be ready for Silas. Watch me. He picked up his axe and went back to work. Clara stared at his back, the broad shoulders, the steady hands, the quiet confidence. She wanted to believe him. God, how she wanted to believe him. But she'd believed before. And it had cost her everything. That afternoon, Emmy found Clara in the kitchen. Mama, can I talk to you? Of course, baby. What is it? Emmy sat down at the table. Her hands were folded in her lap, her face serious. I like it here. Clara's heart clenched. I know you do. I don't want to leave. Emmy. I know we might have to. I know Pa might come. But Mama... Emmy's voice trembled. This is the first place I've felt safe since I was little. Joe doesn't yell. He doesn't hit. He doesn't make me scared to come out of my room. Clara reached across the table and took her daughter's hands. I know, baby. Do you like him? Joe. Yes. Clara hesitated. I barely know him. But do you like him? She thought about the way Joe looked at her, the way he'd wiped the tear from her cheek, the way he'd said stay like it was the simplest thing in the world. I think I could, she admitted, given time. Emmy nodded slowly. He looks at you different than Pa did. Different how? Like you matter, like what you say matters. Emmy squeezed her mother's hands. Pa used to look at you like you were something he owned. Joe looks at you like you're something he found. Clara's eyes stung. When did you get so wise? I had to be. Somebody had to watch out for you. That's not your job, Emmy. It's been my job since I was 7, Mama. Since the first time Pa hit you, and you told me to take the boys to the cellar. Emmy's chin lifted. I ain't complaining, but I'm tired. And I think maybe here, I could just be a kid again. Clara pulled her daughter into her arms. Oh, baby, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Just Don't make us leave. Not yet. I won't, not if I can help it. They held each other for a long moment. Then Emmy pulled back, wiped her eyes, and stood. I'm gonna go help Joe with the horses. He said he'd teach me to brush their coats. Emmy? Yes, Mama. I love you. You know that, right? Emmy smiled a real smile, the first one Clara had seen in months. I know, Mama. I love you too. She ran out the door, and Clara sat alone in the kitchen, her heart full and breaking at the same time. 2 hours later, a rider appeared on the horizon. Clara saw him first. She was at the window watching Emmy and Joe in the corral when the dark shape crested the hill. Her blood turned to ice. Joe! She threw open the door. Joe, someone's coming! Joe looked up. His eyes found the rider. His face went hard. Emmy, get inside. But now! Emmy ran. Joe walked to the porch, picked up his rifle, and waited. Clara's hands were shaking. Is it him? Can't tell yet. Too far. Joe. Get the children in the back room. Lock the door. Don't come out until I tell you. I'm not leaving you alone. Clara. He looked at her. If something happens to me, those children are going to need you. Get them safe, please. She wanted to argue. She wanted to stand beside him to fight to prove she wasn't the scared woman who'd collapsed at his gate. But he was right. The children came first. Always. Don't die, she said. Wasn't planning on it. She gathered the children and locked them in the back room. Tommy's face was pale. Benny was crying. Emmy held them both. It's okay, Emmy whispered. It's gonna be okay. Clara pressed her ear to the door. She heard Joe's boots on the porch. Heard the rider's horse slow to a stop. Heard voices, one she didn't recognize. Afternoon. A man's voice, not Silas. Name's Hank Miller. I run the general store in town. I know who you are. Joe's voice was flat. What do you want? Heard you got visitors. Woman and 3 kids. Clara's heart stopped. Where'd you hear that? Man came through yesterday, asking questions. Said he was looking for his wife and children. Said they'd been kidnapped. Kidnapped. That's what he said. Offered a reward for information. $50. Silence. What did you tell him? Joe asked. Nothing. Didn't know nothing to tell. But some folks in town got loose tongues, and $50 is a lot of money. What are you saying, Hank? I'm saying if that woman and those kids are here, you might want to get them gone. Man didn't look like someone who'd take no for an answer. What did he look like? Tall, dark hair, mean eyes. Had a scar on his chin, like someone cut him once. Clara's legs buckled. She caught herself on the doorframe. Silas. He was here. He'd found them. How long ago did he leave town? Joe's voice was calm. Too calm. This morning. Headed east, but that don't mean much. He could circle back. Appreciate the warning, Hank. Don't appreciate me too much. I ain't doing this for free. What do you want? Nothing now. But if you need supplies, you come to my store. Nobody else's. That sounds like a threat. It's business, Callahan. That's all it is. Footsteps. The horse turning. Hooves fading into the distance. Clara unlocked the door and stumbled into the hall. Joe was already there. You heard, he asked. I heard. He knows you're in the area. He's close. I know. We need to leave. Clara's voice was steady, even though her insides were screaming. Tonight, before he finds us. No. Joe, you heard what Hank said. Silas is offering money. People will talk. It's only a matter of time before... I said no. You can't protect us from him. Watch me. This isn't a game. Clara grabbed his arm. You don't know what he's capable of. He'll kill you, Joe. He'll kill you just to prove he can. Then let him try. Why? Tears streamed down her face. Why are you willing to die for us? You don't even know us. Joe took her face in his hands. I know you, Clara. I know you've been running for 2 years with nothing but your children and your courage. I know you've been hurt by every man who was supposed to protect you. I know you don't trust easy, and you don't ask for help, and you'd rather die than let your children suffer. Joe, I know you're scared. I know you want to run, but I'm asking you to stay. I'm asking you to trust me. I can't. Why not? Because everyone I've ever trusted has hurt me. The words hung in the air between them. Raw, true, broken. Joe's thumbs traced her cheekbones. I ain't everyone, Clara. How do I know that? You don't, not yet. But give me time. Give me a chance to prove it. Clara closed her eyes. She thought about all the miles behind her, all the towns, all the strangers who'd turned away, who'd refused to help, who'd looked at her like she was trouble not worth having. And here was this man, this quiet, stubborn man who wouldn't let her go. If he comes, she whispered, promise me you'll protect the children first. Clara, promise me. Joe's jaw tightened. I promise. She opened her eyes, looked into his. Okay, she said. We'll stay. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to her children breathe. Every creak of the house made her flinch. Every gust of wind sounded like footsteps. At midnight, she gave up. She wrapped a shawl around her shoulders and walked to the kitchen. Joe was already there, sitting at the table with a cup of coffee. Couldn't sleep either? He asked. No. Sit down. I'll pour you some. She sat. He poured. The coffee was bitter and black, but it warmed her hands. I keep thinking about what you said, Joe said. About everyone you've trusted hurting you. It's true. I know. That's what makes it so damn sad. Clara wrapped her fingers around the mug. I was 16 when my father sold me to Silas. That's the only word for it, sold. Silas paid off my father's debts, and in exchange he got me. Joe's face darkened. Your father sold you. Like a horse. Like a piece of furniture. Clara's voice was empty. I didn't know Silas. I'd met him once at a church social. He seemed charming, kind. He brought me flowers and told me I was beautiful. What changed? Everything. The day after we married, he hit me for the first time. Said I'd looked too long at another man during the ceremony. You were 16. I didn't know any better. I thought... She stopped, swallowed. I thought that's what marriage was. My mother died when I was young. I had no one to tell me different. Joe reached across the table and took her hand. I'm sorry, Clara. Don't be sorry, just understand. Every man I've ever known, my father, my husband, the men in the towns we passed through, they all wanted something from me. My father wanted money. Silas wanted control. The others wanted... She couldn't finish. I don't want anything from you, Joe said quietly. Nothing you don't want to give. Then what do you want? I want you to be safe. I want your children to grow up without fear. I want... He hesitated. I want someone to share this life with. Someone to talk to at the end of the day. Someone who understands what it means to lose everything and still keep going. Clara's eyes burned. That's a lot to want from a stranger. You ain't a stranger anymore, Clara. What am I then? Joe looked at her. Really looked at her, and something in his eyes made her breath catch. You're the first person who's made me feel alive in 6 years. The words hit her like a physical blow. She didn't know what to say, didn't know what to feel. So she did the only thing she could. She squeezed his hand and held on. They sat like that until dawn, talking about everything and nothing. He told her about his wife Ruth, how she laughed at his jokes even when they weren't funny. She told him about her mother, the few memories she had, the way she smelled like lavender and bread. By the time the sun rose, something had shifted between them. Not love, not yet, but the foundation of it, the possibility. I should check on the horses, Joe said, standing. I should wake the children. Neither of them moved. Clara. Yes. Whatever happens with Silas, I'm glad you came to my door. She smiled, small, fragile, real. So am I. 3 days passed without incident. Clara began to hope that maybe Silas had moved on. Maybe he'd given up. Maybe just this once she'd escaped him. She should have known better. On the 4th day, Tommy came running from the barn. Mama, there's something wrong with the horses. Clara dropped the pot she was holding. What do you mean? They're sick. Joe says to come quick. She ran. Joe was in the barn kneeling beside Dusty, his oldest mare. The horse was lying on her side, breathing hard foam at her mouth. What happened? Clara demanded. Poison. Joe's voice was tight. Someone poisoned the water trough. Clara's blood ran cold. Silas. Had to be. Joe stood. He was here, Clara. Last night while we were sleeping. He was right here. The children are fine. He didn't touch the house. Just the horses. Clara looked at Dusty, struggling to breathe. Can you save her? I don't know. I gave her charcoal, but... Joe's jaw clenched. He knew exactly what he was doing. Just enough poison to make them suffer, but not enough to kill them quick. That's Silas. He wants us to know he's here. He wants us scared. Are you? Yes. Clara grabbed his arm. We have to leave Joe, tonight. And go where he knows this area. He'll find us before we get 10 miles. Then what do we do? Joe looked at her. Something hard and cold had settled in his eyes. We stop running. We stand and fight. Joe, he wants you scared, Clara. He wants you to run. That's how he wins. That's how he's always won. Joe took her shoulders. But you ain't alone anymore. You got me. And I ain't gonna let him take you. Not without a fight. You could die. I could. But I'd rather die standing than live running. Clara thought about her children. About Emmy, who'd just started to smile again. About Tommy, who'd finally stopped flinching at loud noises. About Benny, who followed Joe around like a shadow. If they ran, they'd never stop running. Silas would chase them to the ends of the earth. But if they stayed... Okay, she said. We fight. You sure? No. She lifted her chin. But I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of looking over my shoulder every minute of every day. If Silas wants a fight, then let's give him one. Joe almost smiled. There she is. There who is? The woman who walked 300 miles through snow with 3 children. The woman who refused to give up no matter what. He cupped her face. You're stronger than you know, Clara Whitmore. I don't feel strong. Strong people never do. That night, Joe taught Clara to shoot. They stood behind the barn, a row of bottles lined up on the fence. Joe handed her his rifle. You ever fired one of these? Once, a long time ago. Show me. Clara raised the rifle, aimed, fired. The bottle exploded. Joe whistled. Natural. Beginner's luck. Try again. She fired 5 more times. Hit 4 bottles. That ain't luck, Joe said. That's skill. It's necessity. Clara lowered the rifle. When you spend 2 years running from a man who wants to kill you, you learn a few things. What else did you learn? How to hide, how to lie, how to tell when someone's following you. She looked at him. How to kill if I have to. Joe didn't flinch. Have you had to? Not yet. Clara's voice was steady. But if Silas comes through that door, I won't hesitate. Good. Neither will I. They practiced until dark. Then they went inside, ate supper with the children, and pretended everything was normal. But Clara saw the way Joe kept glancing at the windows, the way he'd positioned his rifle by the door, the way he'd moved the children's beds away from the walls. He was expecting an attack. They both were. At midnight, Clara woke to a sound. Not footsteps, not the wind. Glass breaking. She was out of bed before her eyes were fully open. The children were still asleep, thank God, and she crept to the door, heart pounding. Joe was already in the hall, rifle in hand. "Stay here," he whispered. "No." "Clara." "I said no." He looked at her for a long moment. Then he handed her a pistol. "You remember how to use this. Point and shoot." "Good enough." They moved through the house together, silent, careful. The broken glass had come from the kitchen window. Cold air poured through the gap. Something was lying on the floor beneath it, a rock, with a note tied around it. Joe picked it up, read it. His face went white. "What does it say?" Clara demanded. He handed it to her. "I'm coming for my family. Anyone who stands in my way dies." Clara's hands shook. "He's here. He's close. The children are safe, for now." Joe took the note from her. "This is what he wants, Clara. He wants you scared. He wants you panicking. Don't give him that satisfaction." "How can you be so calm?" "Because one of us has to be." Clara wanted to scream, to cry, to run. But Joe was right. Panic wouldn't help. Panic would get them killed. She took a breath, steadied herself. "What do we do?" Joe looked at the broken window, at the note in his hand, at Clara. "We wait," he said, "and we make sure when he comes we're ready." Clara thought about Silas out there in the dark, watching, waiting, planning. She thought about her children sleeping peacefully, not knowing the monster at their door. And she thought about Joe. This man who'd taken them in, who'd fed them, sheltered them, protected them, who was willing to die for a woman he barely knew. "Joe." "Yeah. If something happens to me, promise me you'll take care of the children. Nothing's gonna happen to you. Promise me." He took her hand, held it tight. "I promise," he said. "But Clara?" "What?" "Nothing's gonna happen to you. I won't let it." She wanted to believe him. More than anything, she wanted to believe him. But she'd learned long ago that wanting something didn't make it true. She just held his hand tighter and waited for the dawn. Dawn came slow and gray, the sky heavy with clouds that promised more snow. Clara hadn't slept. Neither had Joe. They sat at the kitchen table, weapons within reach, watching the window like it might shatter again at any moment. "He's testing us," Joe said quietly, "seeing how we react." "I know. He'll come again. Tonight maybe. Tomorrow." "I know." Joe looked at her. "You holding up? Do I have a choice?" "No. But I'm asking anyway." Clara's hands tightened around her coffee cup. "I'm scared, Joe. More scared than I've ever been. But I'm also angry. I'm so tired of being scared of him." "Good. Anger's useful. Fear makes you freeze. Anger makes you fight." "Is that what you did in the war?" "That's what kept me alive." The children woke an hour later. Clara had decided not to tell them about the rock, about the note. They were scared enough already. But Emmy knew something was wrong. "Mama, why does Joe have his rifle out?" "Just being careful, baby." "Careful of what?" Clara hesitated. Emmy was 11, old enough to know, old enough to be prepared. "Your father's close," she said quietly. "He might come here." Emmy's face went pale, but her voice was steady. "What do? We stay together. We stay calm. And if something happens, you take your brothers and you hide. You hear me? No matter what you see, no matter what you hear, you hide." "But Mama." "Promise me, Emmy." Emmy's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. "I promise." "Good girl." The morning passed in tense silence. Joe made rounds of the property, checking fences, looking for signs that Silas had been close. Clara kept the children inside, trying to act normal, failing miserably. At noon, a wagon appeared on the road. Clara's heart stopped. "Joe." He was beside her in seconds, rifle raised. "Stay back." They watched the wagon approach. It was old, rickety, pulled by a tired-looking mule. A woman sat on the bench bundled against the cold. "That ain't Silas," Joe said, lowering his rifle. "Who is it?" "Don't know." The wagon stopped at the gate. The woman climbed down slowly. She was old, Clara realized, with white hair and a face carved by years of hard living. "Mr. Callahan." The woman's voice was thin but strong. Joe stepped onto the porch. "Who's asking?" "Name's Martha Dawson. I was Henry's wife." Joe went still. "Henry never mentioned a wife. We separated years before you knew him, but I kept his name." Martha looked past Joe to Clara. "You must be the woman everyone in town's talking about." Clara stepped forward. "What are they saying? That you're hiding from your husband, that he's offering $50 for information." Martha's eyes were sharp, knowing. "That he's the kind of man who leaves bruises where nobody can see them." Clara's breath caught. "How do you know that?" "Because I was married to a man like that once, before Henry." Martha climbed the porch steps slowly. "I came to warn you. Your husband was in town this morning. He's gathering men." "Gathering men?" Joe's voice was tight. "Offering $20 a head to anyone who'll help him get his family back. He's got 4 takers so far." Clara felt the blood drain from her face. 4 men. Could be more by now. He's persuasive, your husband. Talks like a preacher. Makes everyone believe he's the victim. Martha's mouth twisted. "I know the type. All charm on the outside, all poison underneath." "Why are you telling us this?" Clara asked. "Because Henry Dawson saved my life once. Took me in when I had nowhere else to go. Gave me a second chance." Martha looked at Joe. "He told me if I ever needed to repay him, I should help someone who needed it as much as I did." She looked at Clara. "I reckon that's you." Joe stepped forward. "How long do we have?" "A day, maybe less. Your husband's smart. He'll wait until dark." Martha reached into her coat and pulled out a worn leather pouch. "This is everything I have. It ain't much, but it might buy you some time." "We don't need your money," Joe said. "It ain't for you, it is for her." Martha pressed the pouch into Clara's hands. "For the children, in case—" She didn't finish. She didn't have to. "Thank you," Clara whispered. Martha nodded. "Don't thank me, just survive." She turned back to her wagon. "And if you see that husband of yours put a bullet in him, the world won't miss him." She climbed onto the bench, took up the reins, and drove away without looking back. Clara stood on the porch, clutching the pouch, her mind racing. "Joe?" "I know. 5 men, maybe more. Against just you. I've faced worse odds. This isn't a war, Joe. It's exactly a war." He took her shoulders. "Clara, listen to me. We can't run. Even if we left right now, he'd catch us before nightfall. Our only chance is to make a stand." "With what, 1 rifle and a pistol?" "With whatever we've got." Joe's eyes burned. "I ain't letting him take you, Clara. I ain't letting him touch those children, even if it kills me." "That's what I'm afraid of." "Then help me. Help me fight." Clara looked at him, this man who'd become everything to her in such a short time. This man who was willing to die for her. "What do you need me to do?" Joe spent the afternoon turning the ranch into a fortress. He boarded up windows, reinforced doors, positioned furniture to create cover. Clara helped where she could, her hands steady even as her heart raced. "Emmy." Joe crouched in front of the girl. "I need you to do something important." "What is it?" "There's a root cellar behind the barn. Do you know where it is?" "Yes, sir." "When I give the signal, I need you to take your brothers and hide there. Don't come out until your mama or I come to get you, no matter what you hear. Understand?" Emmy's chin trembled, but she nodded. "I understand." "Good girl." Joe stood. "Now I'm going to teach you something else, just in case." He handed her a small knife. "This is for emergencies only. If someone who ain't me or your mama tries to open that cellar door, you use this. Aim for the gut or the throat. Don't hesitate. Clara's stomach turned. Joe, she needs to know, Clara, just in case. Emmy took the knife. Her hand was shaking, but her grip was firm. I won't hesitate, she said. Tommy had been listening from the doorway. What about me? You stay with your sister, you protect Benny. But I want to fight. The best way you can fight is by keeping your brother safe. Can you do that? Tommy's jaw tightened. He wanted to argue Clara could see it, but something in Joe's face stopped him. Yes, sir. I can do that. Good man. Benny tugged at Joe's sleeve. Mr. Joe, is the bad man coming? Joe crouched down to Benny's level. Yeah, little man. The bad man's coming. Are you gonna stop him? I'm sure gonna try. What if you can't? Joe was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, small, sad, but real. Then your mama's gonna stop him. She's the bravest person I know. Benny looked at Clara. Mama's brave. Braver than anyone, Joe said. She walked 300 miles to keep you safe. She gave up everything so you could have a better life. That's the bravest thing a person can do. Clara's eyes burned. She blinked hard. Go with your sister now, Joe told Benny. And remember, when I give the signal, you run to the cellar, fast as you can. The children gathered near the fire. Clara watched them. Her 3 reasons for living, and made a silent promise. Whatever it takes, whatever it costs, you will survive this. The sun began to set. Joe checked his rifle for the 10th time. Clara paced by the window, the pistol heavy in her hand. You should eat something, Joe said. I can't. Clara? I said I can't. She stopped pacing. My stomach's in knots. If I eat anything, I'll throw it up. Then at least sit down. You're wearing a hole in the floor. She sat. Her leg bounced. Her fingers drummed. Tell me something, she said suddenly. What? Anything. Tell me about Ruth. Tell me about your daughter. I need to think about something other than... She gestured at the window. This. Joe was quiet for a moment. Then he leaned back in his chair. Ruth was stubborn, he said. Stubborn as a mule and twice as pretty. First time I saw her, she was arguing with a preacher about the book of Job. Told him Job should have punched God in the face instead of just accepting everything. Clara almost smiled. She sounds wonderful. She was. She had this laugh loud like a honking goose. Everyone said it was unladylike. She didn't care. Joe's voice softened. She laughed like that the day our daughter was born. Said she was so happy she didn't know what else to do. What was her name? Your daughter. Lily, after Ruth's mother. Joe's eyes went distant. She had my eyes and Ruth's laugh. She was only 2 when the fever took them. I barely got to know her. Clara reached across the table and took his hand. I'm sorry. Don't be. They're at peace now, and I got to love them even if it wasn't long enough. He squeezed her hand. That's what I learned from losing them, Clara. Love while you can. Don't waste time being scared of it. Is that what you're doing with me? Joe met her eyes. What do you think? Before Clara could answer, Emmy screamed, Mama! Someone's coming! Clara was at the window in a heartbeat. Her blood turned to ice. 5 riders, moving slow down the road toward the ranch. And at the front, riding a black horse, was Silas. Get the children to the cellar, Joe said. His voice was calm, deadly calm. Now. Clara didn't hesitate. She grabbed Emmy's hand, scooped up. Benny shouted for Tommy to follow. Mama, I'm scared, Benny cried. I know, baby, but you're going to be so brave for me, okay? You're going to hide with Emmy and Tommy, and you're not going to make a sound. What about you? I'll be right here. I'll come get you when it's safe. She pushed them into the cellar, pressed a kiss to each of their foreheads. Emmy. The knife. Emmy pulled it from her belt. Her face was pale, but her eyes were hard. I won't let anyone hurt them, Mama. I know you won't, baby. I love you. I love you too. Clara closed the cellar door. It was the hardest thing she'd ever done. When she got back to the house, Joe was on the porch, rifle raised. The riders had stopped at the gate. Callahan. Silas's voice rang out clear and cold. I know you got my wife in there. Send her out and nobody has to die. Joe didn't answer, didn't move. I'm a reasonable man, Callahan. I don't want trouble. I just want what's mine. Clara stepped onto the porch. She couldn't help it. She had to see him. Silas smiled when he saw her. That smile, the one that used to make her think he loved her. Now it made her sick. There she is. Hello, sweetheart. Miss me? Go away, Silas. Can't do that. You're my wife. Those are my children. The law says they belong to me. The law can go to hell. Silas's smile faded. Now that's not very nice. After everything I've done for you. Everything you've done. Clara stepped forward. You hit me. You beat me. You terrorized our children. You made my life a living hell for 10 years. I disciplined you. There's a difference. There's no difference. You're a monster, Silas. And I won't let you touch my children again. They're my children too. You lost that right the day you hit Emmy. Something dark flickered in Silas's eyes. She was being disrespectful. She was protecting her mother. She needed to learn her place, just like you did. Silas nudged his horse forward. Now I'm done talking. You're coming with me, Clara. You and the children. We're going home. Joe stepped in front of Clara. She ain't going anywhere. And who are you to stop me? Some lonely rancher playing hero? Silas laughed. I've got 5 men, Callahan. You've got 1 rifle. You really want to die for a woman who ain't even yours? She might not be mine, Joe said. But she ain't yours either. Not anymore. Is that right? Silas dismounted. He was tall, taller than Joe, with shoulders like a bull. The scar on his chin caught the fading light. You think you can protect her? You think you can give her a better life than I did? I think a pig could give her a better life than you did. Silas's face went red. You're gonna regret that. I doubt it. The men behind Silas shifted. Hands went to guns. The air crackled with violence. Clara's heart pounded so hard she could hear it. Last chance, Callahan. Silas's voice was ice. Walk away now and I'll let you live. Stay and my men will put so many holes in you they won't be able to find enough pieces to bury. Joe raised his rifle, aimed it at Silas's head. Your men might get me, he said, but I promise you, I'll take you with me. You ready to die, Hargrove? Because I am. The silence stretched. Nobody breathed. Then one of the men behind Silas spoke up. Silas, this ain't what you said it would be. You said we'd rough up some rancher, grab the woman and go. You didn't say nothing about gunfights. Shut up, Miller. I ain't dying for $20. I'm out. He turned his horse and rode away. Another man followed, then a third. Silas's face twisted with rage. Cowards, all of you. But 2 men remained. They exchanged a glance, then drew their pistols. Everything happened at once. Joe fired. One of the men fell from his horse. The other man fired back. Joe grunted, stumbled. Clara screamed. Joe! She raised her pistol and shot. The bullet hit the second man in the shoulder. He cursed, dropped his gun, and fled on his horse. Silas lunged for her. Clara tried to dodge, but he was too fast. His hand closed around her throat, lifted her off her feet. You stupid woman, he hissed. You really thought you could get away from me? Clara couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. The world was going dark. Then she heard Joe's voice. Let her go. Silas turned. Joe was standing, blood soaking his sleeve rifle aimed at Silas's head. You're bleeding out, Callahan. You can barely stand. You really think you can let her go? Something in Joe's voice made Silas pause. Not fear, Silas didn't know fear, but recognition. The recognition of a man who had nothing left to lose. Silas dropped Clara. She hit the ground hard, gasping for air. Fine. Silas reached for his gun. I'll kill you first. Then I'll take my time with her. Clara's hand found her pistol. She raised it. Silas! He turned. She pulled the trigger. The bullet hit him in the chest. He staggered, looked down at the blood spreading across his shirt. You? He reached for her. You shot me. I should have done it years ago. Silas fell to his knees. His eyes, those cold, cruel eyes, found hers. You think this changes anything? He rasped. You'll always be mine, Clara. Always. No. Clara stood over him, the gun still in her hand. I was never yours, Silas. I was just too scared to see it. Silas opened his mouth to speak. Then his eyes went blank and he slumped to the ground. For a long moment, Clara just stood there. Looking at the man who'd haunted her nightmares for 11 years, he looked so small now, so ordinary. Clara, she turned. Joe was swaying on his feet, one hand pressed to his bleeding arm. Joe. She ran to him, caught him before he could fall. You're hurt. How bad? Just a graze. I've had worse. You're lying. Yeah, but it makes me feel better. He managed a weak smile. You okay? I just killed my husband. That ain't what I asked. Clara looked back at Silas's body. She waited to feel something guilt, horror, grief. All she felt was relief. I'm okay, she said. I think I'm finally okay. Joe touched her face. You were incredible. I was terrified. Same thing sometimes. She helped him inside, sat him down, tore open his sleeve to look at the wound. It was bad. Not life-threatening, but bad. I need to get the children, she said. Go, I'll be fine. She ran to the cellar, threw open the door. 3 faces stared up at her, pale, terrified, hopeful. Mama, Emmy's voice shook. Is it over? Clara smiled. Tears streamed down her face. Yeah, baby, it's over. It's finally over. The children burst out of the cellar. Benny threw himself into Clara's arms. Tommy tried to look brave, but his lip was trembling. Emmy just held on to her mother and cried. Where's Mr. Joe? Benny asked. He's inside. He got hurt, but he's gonna be okay. And the bad man? Clara hesitated. The bad man's gone, Benny. He's never coming back. They went inside together. Joe was still in the chair, looking pale and exhausted, but alive. Emmy ran to him. Mr. Joe. Hey, little miss. He smiled weakly. You do what I told you. I kept them safe, just like you said. That's my girl. Tommy stood back watching. You got shot. I did. Does it hurt? Like hell. You want me to, I don't know, get you something? Joe held out his good hand. Come here, son. Tommy walked over slowly. Joe put his hand on the boy's shoulder. You did good today, Tommy. You protected your brother. That took courage. Tommy's chin trembled. I was scared. Being scared don't mean you ain't brave. It means you're human. Joe squeezed his shoulder. I'm proud of you. Tommy broke. He threw his arms around Joe and sobbed into his chest. It's okay, Joe murmured. It's okay, son. We made it. We all made it. Clara watched them, her children wrapped around this man who'd become their protector, their champion, their hero, and maybe, just maybe, something more. That night, after she'd bandaged Joe's arm and put the children to bed, Clara sat beside him on the porch. The bodies were gone. Joe had dragged them to the edge of the property before his strength gave out. They'd deal with the sheriff tomorrow. For now, there was only silence and peace. Joe? Yeah. What happens now? He was quiet for a moment. What do you want to happen? I don't know. I've been running so long I don't know how to stand still. Then learn. He took her hand. Stay here, Clara. Stay with me. You want me to stay, after everything I brought to your door? I want you to stay because of everything you brought to my door. He turned to face her. You brought life back into this house. Laughter, purpose, something worth fighting for. His voice dropped. You brought love, Clara, even if you didn't mean to. Clara's heart stuttered. Love? Is that so hard to believe? After everything I've been through? Yes. Then let me prove it. Jo cupped her face. Let me spend every day proving it. Let me show you what love is supposed to feel like. Clara's eyes filled with tears. I don't know if I can love you back. I don't know if I have anything left to give. Then don't give me anything. Just stay. Just let me be here. And if love comes, it comes. If it doesn't, he shrugged. At least we won't be alone. Clara laughed through her tears. You're a strange man, Josiah Callahan. So I've been told. She leaned forward and kissed him, soft, gentle. A question more than an answer. When she pulled back, Jo was smiling. Does that mean you're staying? Clara looked out at the ranch. At the land where she'd almost died. At the house where she'd found shelter. At the man who'd saved her life. Yeah, she said. I'm staying. Jo pulled her close. She rested her head on his shoulder. Above them the stars came out one by one. And for the first time in years, Clara wasn't afraid of the dark. The sheriff came at dawn. Clara heard the horse before she saw it. Her body tensed, old instincts kicking in before her mind could catch up. Easy. Jo put his good hand on her shoulder. It's just Tom Walker. He's the law around here. The law? Clara's voice was flat. I killed a man, Jo. You killed a man who was trying to kill you. That's different. Is it? The sheriff dismounted at the gate. He was older than Clara expected, graybeard, weathered face, a badge that looked like it had seen better days. Callahan. Walker tipped his hat. Heard you had some trouble out here. Word travels fast. In a town this small, hell, I knew before the sun came up. Walker's eyes moved to Clara. You must be Mrs. Hargrove. Whitmore. Clara's voice was steady. My name is Clara Whitmore. All right, Mrs. Whitmore. I got some questions for you. Mind if we talk inside? Jo stepped forward. She doesn't have to. It's okay, Jo. Clara touched his arm. I've got nothing to hide. They sat at the kitchen table. The children were still asleep, thank God. Clara didn't want them to hear this. Tell me what happened, Walker said. So Clara told him. Everything. The years of abuse, the running, the note Silas had left, the men he'd hired, the gunfight. When she finished, Walker leaned back in his chair. That matches what the two surviving men said. They're in my jail right now, by the way. Won't be going anywhere for a while. What happens to me? Walker studied her. You killed a man in self-defense. He came onto private property with armed men threatening violence. The way I see it, you did what any person would do to protect their family. Clara's breath caught. So you're not going to arrest me? Arrest you for what? Being brave? Walker shook his head. Mrs. Whitmore, I've been sheriff of this county for 23 years. I've seen a lot of bad men do a lot of bad things. Your husband was one of the worst. The world's better off without him. Clara didn't know what to say. She'd expected handcuffs, a trial, prison. Not this, not understanding. There'll be some paperwork, Walker continued. I'll need you to make a formal statement, but that's just procedure. As far as I'm concerned, this case is closed. Thank you, Sheriff. Don't thank me. Thank Callahan here. Walker stood. He's the one who sent word to me last night. Told me everything before I even rode out here. Smart move. Made my job a hell of a lot easier. Clara looked at Jo. You sent for the sheriff. Wanted to make sure everything was done proper. No questions later. You were thinking about legalities while bleeding out. Jo shrugged with his good shoulder. I've always been a planner. Walker headed for the door, then paused. One more thing, Mrs. Whitmore. Your husband had some debts. Gambling mostly. There's a man in town named Reed who says Silas owed him $300. Clara's stomach dropped. I don't have $300. I know, but Reed's the kind of man who doesn't care about that. He might come looking for you. He'll have to go through me first, Jo said. That's what I figured. Walker tipped his hat. You folks take care. I'll be back in a few days for that statement." He rode away, leaving Clara and Joe alone. $300, Clara said quietly. "I brought even more trouble to your door. You didn't bring anything, Silas did." "It's the same thing." "No." Joe took her hand. "It ain't. Silas made his choices. You made yours. Don't carry his weight." Clara wanted to believe him. But 11 years of marriage had taught her that a man's debts became his wife's, that his sins became her burden. What if this Reed comes here? Then we deal with him. "Joe, you can barely lift your arm. You can't keep fighting my battles." "They ain't your battles anymore, Clara. They're our battles." He squeezed her hand. "When are you going to understand that?" Before she could answer, Emmy appeared in the doorway. "Mama!" "What's going on? I heard voices." "It's nothing, baby. Just the sheriff stopping by." Emmy's eyes widened. "Are you in trouble?" "No, everything's fine." "Really?" "Really." Emmy didn't look convinced, but she nodded. "Tommy's awake. He's asking for breakfast." "I'll make something. You go get your brother dressed." Emmy lingered. "Mama." "Yes." "Are we really staying here for good?" Clara looked at Joe. He looked back, waiting. "Yeah, baby," she said. "We're really staying." Emmy smiled bright, genuine, the smile of a child who'd just been given permission to hope. "Good," she said. "I like it here." She ran off to wake her brothers. Joe was watching Clara. "That was the first time you've said it out loud." "Said what?" "That you're staying." Clara realized he was right. Last night on the porch she'd agreed. But saying it to Emmy, making it real for her children, that was different. "I meant it," she said. "If you still want us." "Clara." Joe stood, pulled her close with his good arm. "I've wanted you since the moment you fell at my gate. I just didn't know how to say it." "You're saying it now." "Yeah, I am." He tilted her chin up. "I love you, Clara Whitmore. I know it's too soon. I know we barely know each other. But I love you anyway." Clara's heart cracked open. She'd thought she was done with love, thought Silas had beaten it out of her. But here it was, stubborn, unexpected, real. "I love you too," she whispered. Joe kissed her, soft, then deeper. Clara melted into him, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Safe, wanted, home. "Oh!" They broke apart. Benny was standing in the doorway, nose wrinkled. "Mr. Joe, why are you kissing my mama?" Joe laughed. "Because I like her." "But kissing is gross." "You'll change your mind someday." "No, I won't." Clara scooped Benny up, kissing his cheek until he squealed. "Come on, little man, let's make breakfast." The morning passed in a warm haze. Clara cooked. The children ate. Joe sat at the table, one arm in a sling, telling stories about the horses and the ranch, and the time he'd accidentally fallen in the water trough. It felt like family. Real family. The kind Clara had dreamed about as a girl, before life had taught her that dreams were dangerous. After breakfast, Emmy pulled Clara aside. "Mama, can I ask you something?" "Of course, baby." "Are you and Mr. Joe gonna get married?" Clara's breath caught. "Emmy, I'm not trying to be nosy. I just want to know. If he's gonna be our pa, I think we should know." Clara crouched down to her daughter's level. "Would that be okay with you, if Joe became your pa?" Emmy was quiet for a moment. "He's not like him." "No, he's not. He doesn't hit. He doesn't yell. He doesn't make me scared." "No, baby, he doesn't." "Then yeah." Emmy nodded slowly. "I think it would be okay. More than okay." Clara hugged her tight. "I love you, Emmy. You know that." "I know, Mama. I love you too." Tommy appeared beside them. "What are you whispering about?" "None of your business," Emmy said. "Is it about Mr. Joe?" "I said none of your business. It is about Mr. Joe. Tommy grinned. You like him, don't you, Emmy? Shut up. Emmy and Joe sitting in a tree. Thomas Michael Whitmore. Clara's voice was sharp, but she was fighting a smile. That's enough. Yes, ma'am. But Tommy was still grinning. I like him too, you know, even if he does kiss Mama. You saw that? We all saw it. Tommy rolled his eyes. Y'all ain't exactly subtle. Clara laughed. She couldn't help it. For the first time in years, she laughed until her stomach hurt. Go on, she said. Go help Joe with the horses, and don't give him any trouble about the kissing. I make no promises. Tommy ran off, Emmy chasing him. Clara watched them go. Her children. Happy, safe, free. This is what she'd been running toward all along. She just hadn't known it. 2 days later, trouble came knocking. Clara was hanging laundry when she saw the rider approaching. Her body went cold. Joe. He was beside her in seconds, rifle in hand. His arm was still in a sling, but he held the weapon steady. Easy, he said. I know that horse. It's Hank Miller. The man from the general store. The same. Miller dismounted at the gate. His face was grim. Callahan, Mrs. Whitmore. We need to talk. About what? Joe's voice was flat. About Reed. He's gathering men. Says he's going to come out here and collect what he's owed. Clara's heart sank. How many men? 6, last I counted. Maybe more. Miller shifted his weight. He's telling everyone in town that you're a murderer, Mrs. Whitmore. That you killed your husband in cold blood. That Callahan here helped you do it. That's a lie, Clara said. I know it is. But Reed's got money and influence. People listen to him. Joe stepped forward. Why are you telling us this? Miller was quiet for a moment. Because my wife was like you, Mrs. Whitmore. Before I met her, she'd run from a man who hurt her. Took her years to stop flinching every time I raised my hand to scratch my head. What happened to her? She died. Consumption 3 winters back. Miller's voice was rough. But those years we had together were the best of my life. I ain't about to let some bastard like Reed take that away from another woman. What can we do? Clara asked. You could run. Leave tonight, head west, never look back. No. Clara's voice was firm. I'm done running. Miller nodded slowly. Then you stand and fight. Again. With what Joe's got, one good arm. I've got 3 children to protect. You've got more than that. Miller looked at Joe. There's folks in town who know the truth, who saw what Silas really was. They've been scared to speak up because of Reed. But if someone gave them a reason to be brave... What kind of reason? Joe asked. Come to town, both of you. Tell your story. Let people see who you really are. Miller's eyes met Clara's. Sometimes the best weapon ain't a gun, it's the truth. He rode away, leaving Clara and Joe standing in the yard. What do you think? Clara asked. I think it's a risk. So is staying here and waiting for Reed to come. True. Joe turned to face her. Are you up for this? Walking into a town full of strangers who might hate you. I've been hated before. This is different. This is public. This is standing up and saying, I exist, I matter, I'm not going to be erased. Clara thought about all the times she'd hidden, all the towns she'd slunk through like a ghost trying not to be noticed, all the years she'd spent making herself small so Silas wouldn't have a reason to hurt her. She was so tired of being small. I'm up for it, she said. You sure? No. She lifted her chin. But I'm doing it anyway. They rode into town the next morning. Clara sat beside Joe on the wagon seat, the children in the back. Her heart was pounding, but her hands were steady. The main street was quiet. A few people stopped to stare. Whispers followed them like shadows. There she is. Killed her own husband. Heard she's a whore. Clara kept her eyes forward. She wouldn't let them see her flinch. Joe pulled the wagon up in front of the general store. Miller was waiting. You came. We came. Good. Miller gestured toward the building across the street. Town Hall. I've spread the word. People are gathering. Clara climbed down from the wagon. Her legs felt like water, but she forced them to move. Emmy, stay with your brothers. Yes, Mama. If anything happens, I'll take them to Mr. Miller. He'll keep us safe. Clara touched her daughter's face. When did you get so brave? I learned from you. They walked into the town hall together. Clara and Joe side by side. The room was full. At least 50 people, maybe more. They turned to stare as Clara entered. Some faces were hostile. Some were curious. A few, just a few, looked sympathetic. At the front of the room stood a man Clara didn't recognize. He was big with a belly that strained against his vest and eyes like cold marbles. That must be Reed, Joe murmured. He looks like a pig. Don't insult pigs. Clara almost smiled. Almost. Reed stepped forward. Well, well, the murderess herself. Glad you could join us. I'm not a murderess, Clara said. Her voice was steady. She was proud of that. No, you shot your husband in the chest. What would you call it? Self-defense. Self-defense. Reed laughed. He came to bring you home and you killed him for it. He came to drag me back to hell. He brought 5 armed men. He tried to strangle me. That's your story. That's the truth. Reed's eyes narrowed. Your husband owed me money. $300. I don't care who killed who. Someone's gonna pay. Her husband owed you money, Joe said. Not her. Same thing. No, it ain't. A woman ain't responsible for her husband's debts, especially not when he was beating her for 10 years. A murmur went through the crowd. That's a lie, Reed said. Silas Hargrove was a good man. Was he? Clara stepped forward. She could feel every eye in the room on her. Let me tell you about Silas Hargrove. Let me tell you about the good man you're defending. She took a breath. This was it, the moment she stopped hiding. I married Silas when I was 16 years old. My father sold me to him to pay off his debts. On our wedding night, Silas hit me for the first time. He said I'd looked at another man during the ceremony. The room was silent. For 10 years he beat me. He hit me when dinner was cold. He hit me when I laughed too loud. He hit me when I cried too much. Clara's voice cracked, but she kept going. He hit me when I was pregnant. He hit me in front of my children. He made them watch. A woman in the crowd gasped. 2 years ago he hit my daughter. My 11-year-old daughter, because she tried to protect me. Clara's eyes burned. That was the night I ran. I took my children and I ran and I swore I would never go back. That doesn't excuse murder, Reed said, but his voice was weaker now. It wasn't murder. It was survival. Clara looked around the room. Silas followed us. Town after town, state after state. He found us everywhere we went. He burned down a widow's barn because she gave us shelter. He poisoned Joe's horses. He came to the ranch with 5 armed men and tried to drag me away. She turned back to Reed. I shot him because he was going to kill me. I shot him because he was going to take my children. I shot him because after 11 years of beatings and terror, I finally had the courage to fight back. Her voice rose. And I would do it again, 1,000 times. To protect my children, I would do it 1,000 times. The room erupted. People shouted, some in anger, some in support. Reed tried to speak, but his voice was drowned out. Then a woman stood up. She was young, maybe 25, with a bruise on her cheek that she'd tried to hide with powder. I believe her. Everyone turned. My name is Sarah Cole, the woman said. Her voice shook, but she didn't stop. My husband hits me too. He's done it for 3 years. I've never told anyone because I was scared. But if this woman, she pointed at Clara, if this woman can stand up here and tell the truth, then so can I. Another woman stood, then another, then another. One by one they spoke. Wives who'd been beaten, daughters who'd watched, sisters who'd helped hide the bruises. Reed's face went red. This is ridiculous. This is a court of law, not a "Shut up, Reed." It was Sheriff Walker stepping through the door. "Sheriff," Reed sputtered. These women are telling the truth, and you're a fool if you think anyone in this room is going to side with you after what we just heard." Walker walked to the front of the room. He looked at Clara with something like respect. "Mrs. Whitmore, I apologize for any distress this meeting has caused you. As far as I'm concerned, you acted in lawful self-defense. The case is closed." "And my money," Reed demanded, "is your problem, not hers." Walker turned to face him. "And if I hear you've been bothering this woman or her family, I'll find every gambling debt you've ever owed and make sure your creditors come calling. Understand?" Reed's face twisted with rage, but he nodded. "Good." Walker tipped his hat to Clara. "You're free to go, ma'am." Clara walked out of that room with her head held high. Outside, Joe was waiting. "How did it go?" "Better than I expected." Clara smiled through her tears. "I told the truth, Joe. For the first time in my life, I told the truth out loud. And people listened. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me too." He pulled her into his arms. She buried her face in his chest and let herself cry. Not tears of fear this time. Tears of relief. "Mama!" The children ran toward them. Emmy reached her first. "Mama, what happened? Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine, baby. Better than fine." "Are we in trouble?" "No, we're not in trouble. We're free." Emmy's face lit up. "Really? Really?" Tommy whooped. Benny jumped up and down. Emmy grabbed Clara's hand and squeezed. "I told you," Emmy said. "I told you we'd be okay." "You did, baby. You were right." They climbed back into the wagon. Joe took the reins. The children settled in the back, chattering about lunch and horses and whether Benny could have a dog. As they rode out of town, people lined the streets to watch. Some still looked hostile, but more looked thoughtful, and a few those brave women who'd stood up waved. Clara waved back. "You changed something today," Joe said quietly. "What do you mean?" "Those women. They'd been suffering in silence for years. You gave them permission to speak." "I just told my story." "That's all it takes sometimes. One person brave enough to go first." Clara looked back at the town growing smaller behind them. "Do you think it'll make a difference?" "I think it already has." Joe took her hand. "For them. And for you." She squeezed his hand. He squeezed back. The road stretched out ahead of them. Home was waiting. And for the first time in her life, Clara Whitmore wasn't afraid of what came next. That night after the children were asleep, Joe found Clara on the porch. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Too much going on in my head. Want to talk about it?" Clara was quiet for a moment. Then, "I keep thinking about what that woman said. Sarah Cole. She's been beaten for 3 years, and she never told anyone. That was me, Joe. That was me for 10 years. But you got out. I almost didn't. If Emmy hadn't been there that night, if Silas hadn't hit her." Clara shook her head. "I might still be there, still taking it, still believing I deserved it." Joe sat down beside her. "You never deserved it, Clara. Not 1 second of it." "I know that now. But I didn't always. For a long time I thought—" Her voice broke. "I thought if I was better, if I tried harder, if I didn't make him angry, he'd stop. I thought it was my fault. It wasn't. I know, but knowing and believing are different things." Joe put his arm around her. She leaned into him. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "Of course." "When Ruth died, I blamed myself. Thought if I'd called the doctor sooner, if I'd prayed harder, if I'd loved her more, she would have lived. I carried that guilt for years. What changed? Henry Dawson. He told me something I'll never forget. He said guilt is just love with nowhere to go. You gotta let it out or it'll eat you alive. Clara thought about that. Let it out how? By forgiving yourself. By accepting that you did the best you could with what you had. By understanding that bad things happen to good people and it ain't always someone's fault. Is that what you did? I'm still working on it. Jo kissed the top of her head. But it gets easier. Day by day, it gets easier. Clara closed her eyes. She thought about all the guilt she carried, the shame, the what-ifs. What if she'd left sooner? What if she'd fought back? What if she'd been braver? I don't know how to forgive myself, she admitted. Then let me help you. Jo tilted her chin up. Let me remind you every day that you're worthy of love, that you're strong and brave and beautiful, that what happened to you wasn't your fault and you survived anyway. Tears streamed down Clara's face. That's a lot of work. I've got time. She laughed a watery, broken sound. I love you, Jo. I love you too, Clara. He kissed her forehead. Now let's go inside. It's cold out here, and I'm an injured man. Your arm's almost healed. I'm milking it for all it's worth. She laughed again, and this time it was real. She stood, took his hand, and led him inside. The fire was dying. The house was quiet. Her children were safe. And Clara Whitmore, for the first time in her life, was home. Spring came slowly to Wyoming. The snow melted in patches, revealing brown earth that smelled of promise. Clara stood at the kitchen window, watching her children chase each other across the yard. Their laughter carried on the wind like music. You're smiling. She turned. Jo was leaning against the doorframe, his arm finally free of the sling. I am. First time I've seen you smile without looking scared it might get taken away. Clara touched her face. He was right. The smile felt different now. It felt safe. How's your arm? Good as new. He flexed it. Well, almost. Doc says I'll have a scar. Another one to add to the collection. Makes me look distinguished. It makes you look like trouble. Jo grinned. Pot meat kettle. He crossed the room and wrapped his arms around her. Clara leaned into him, breathing in the smell of horses and coffee and home. I want to ask you something, Jo said. What? Not here. Later, after supper. Clara pulled back to look at him. That sounds serious. It is. Should I be worried? I hope not. He kissed her forehead. Just don't say no before you hear me out. Before Clara could respond, the door burst open. Mama Tommy pushed me in the mud. I did not. She fell. You pushed me. Did not. Did too. Clara sighed. I'll handle this. Good luck. Jo grabbed his hat. I'll be in the barn. Coward. Smart man knows when to retreat. He disappeared before the children could drag him into the argument. Clara spent the next hour washing mud out of Emmy's dress, refereeing the ongoing battle between her children, and wondering what Jo wanted to ask her. Marriage. It had to be. What else would he be so nervous about? The thought made her stomach flutter. She'd been married before, and it had nearly destroyed her. But Jo wasn't Silas. Jo was kind, patient, good. Still, the word wife made something inside her flinch. After supper, Jo asked her to walk with him. Where are we going? Not far, just to the ridge. They walked in silence, the evening cool around them. Clara could see her breath, but she didn't feel cold. Jo's hand was warm in hers. When they reached the ridge, Jo stopped. He turned to face her. Clara. Jo. I've been thinking. That's dangerous. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. He was nervous. She'd never seen him nervous before. When you showed up at my gate, he said, I was dead. Not physically, but inside. I'd been going through the motions for 6 years, just waiting for my body to catch up with my soul. Joe, let me finish. He took both her hands. You changed that. You and your children. You made me want to live again. You gave me something to fight for. Clara's eyes burned. You gave me the same thing. I know I'm not perfect. I know I've got scars inside and out. I know I'm stubborn and too quiet sometimes, and I snore like a freight train. You do snore. But I love you, Clara. I love your strength and your courage and the way you laugh when you forget to be scared. I love your children like they were my own. I want to spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring. It was simple, a plain silver band, worn smooth by years of handling. This was my mother's, he said. She gave it to my father when they got married. He wore it until the day he died. I've been carrying it around for 20 years waiting for someone worth giving it to. Clara's breath caught. Joe. Marry me, Clara. Not because you need protection. Not because you need a home. Marry me because you want to. Marry me because you love me. Marry me because you can't imagine facing tomorrow without me. Tears streamed down Clara's face. I can't. Joe's face fell. You can't. I can't imagine it. Facing tomorrow without you. She laughed through her tears. That's what I meant. I can't imagine it. Hope flickered in his eyes. Is that a yes? Yes, Joe. Yes. 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly, like it had been waiting for her all along. Then he kissed her, and Clara forgot everything else, the pain, the fear, the years of running. All that mattered was this moment, this man, this life they were building together. When they finally pulled apart, Joe was grinning. We should probably tell the children. They're going to lose their minds. Tommy's going to ask if this means I'm his pa now. What will you say? Joe's face went serious. I'll say yes, if that's okay with you. Clara touched his face. It's more than okay. It's everything. They walked back to the house hand in hand. The children were waiting on the porch. What took you so long? Emmy demanded. Benny's been asking where you went. I wasn't asking, Benny said. I was just wondering. Same thing, dummy. Don't call your brother names, Clara and Joe said at the same time. They looked at each other and laughed. Emmy's eyes narrowed. What's going on? Why are you laughing? Clara held up her hand. The ring caught the fading light. Emmy screamed. You're getting married. We're getting married. Tommy whooped. Benny looked confused. What does that mean? It means Mr. Joe's gonna be our PA, Tommy said. Benny's eyes went wide. Really? Joe crouched down to Benny's level. If that's okay with you, little man, will you still let me ride the horses? Every day if you want. Then it's okay. Emmy threw her arms around Clara. I'm so happy, Mama. I'm so happy. Me too, baby. Me too. That night, after the children were asleep, Clara and Joe sat by the fire. We should talk about the wedding, Clara said. What about it? I don't want anything big. No church, no guests, no fancy dress. Whatever you want. I just want us. You, me, the children. Maybe Martha Dawson if she'll come. And Sheriff Walker if he's willing to do the ceremony. Walker can marry people. He's a justice of the peace. At least that's what Miller told me. Joe nodded slowly. When? Soon, before I lose my nerve. You won't lose your nerve. How do you know? Because you're the bravest woman I've ever met. He took her hand. But if you want soon, we'll do soon. How about next Sunday? Clara's heart raced. That's 5 days away. Too fast. No. She squeezed his hand. It's perfect. The next 5 days passed in a blur. Martha Dawson arrived the day before the wedding, bringing a dress she'd worn at her own ceremony 40 years ago. It's old, she said, but it's good quality. Should fit you with a few adjustments." Clara held up the dress. It was simple cream-colored cotton with lace at the collar, but beautiful. "I can't accept this." "You can and you will." Martha's voice was firm. "Consider it a wedding present." "Why are you being so kind to me?" Martha was quiet for a moment. "Because I remember what it was like. Being scared. Being alone. Thinking nobody cared whether I lived or died." She touched Clara's face. "Henry Dawson saved my life. Joe Callahan saved yours. The least I can do is make sure you look pretty while you marry him." Clara hugged her. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. We've got alterations to do." They worked through the night adjusting seams and hemming the skirt. Emmy helped her small fingers nimble with the needle. "Mama, you're going to be the prettiest bride ever." "I don't know about that." "I do." Emmy's voice was fierce. "You deserve to be pretty. You deserve to be happy. You deserve everything good." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "When did you grow up so much?" "I had to. But I don't have to anymore." Emmy smiled. "Mr. Joe Pa, he'll take care of you now, and you can take care of me. I'll always take care of you, baby, no matter what." "I know, Mama. That's why I love you." The morning of the wedding dawned clear and cold. Clara woke early, her stomach churning with nerves. She'd been married before, in a dark church with a man who'd already started making her afraid. She'd worn a borrowed dress that didn't fit and shoes that pinched. Today was different. Today she was choosing this. Choosing Joe. Choosing a life. Emmy helped her into the dress. Martha fixed her hair. Even Tommy and Benny did their part, picking wildflowers from the field behind the barn. "You look beautiful, Mama," Benny said. "Thank you, baby." "Are you nervous?" "A little." "Don't be." He handed her a fistful of flowers. "Mr. Joe loves you. I can tell because he looks at you the way I look at cookies." Clara laughed. "That's actually very sweet, Benny." "I know. I'm a sweet boy." Sheriff Walker arrived at noon. He looked uncomfortable in a clean shirt and freshly polished boots. "Never done this before," he admitted. "Usually I'm arresting folks, not marrying them." "Just say the words," Joe said. "That's all we need." They gathered on the porch, Clara, Joe, the three children, Martha, and Walker. The sun was bright overhead. The wind was still. Walker cleared his throat. "Dearly beloved." "You can skip that part," Joe said. "Thank God. I wasn't sure I could keep a straight face." Walker pulled a small book from his pocket. "Let's get to it then. Josiah Callahan, do you take this woman to be your wife?" "I do." "Clara Whitmore, do you take this man to be your husband?" Clara looked at Joe, at his weathered face and steady eyes, at the scar on his cheek and the calluses on his hands, at the man who'd saved her life then asked for nothing in return. "I do." "Then by the power vested in me by the territory of Wyoming, I pronounce you husband and wife." Walker snapped the book shut. "You can kiss her now." Joe took Clara's face in his hands. "I love you, Mrs. Callahan." "I love you too, Mr. Callahan." He kissed her. The children cheered. Martha wiped her eyes. Even Walker cracked a smile. When they finally broke apart, Tommy stepped forward. "Does this mean we're Callahans now too?" Joe crouched down. "It means you're my family now. Officially. Legally. Forever." "So you're our pa? If you'll have me." Tommy was quiet for a moment. Then he threw his arms around Joe's neck. "I'll have you," he said, his voice muffled against Joe's shoulder. "I'll have you." Emmy joined the hug. Then Benny. Clara watched them, her children wrapped around the man who'd become their father, and felt her heart crack wide open. "Come here, Mrs. Callahan." Joe held out his arm. Clara joined them. 5 people tangled together on a porch in Wyoming. A family forged not by blood, but by choice. That afternoon, Martha insisted on cooking a wedding feast. "It's not much," she said, laying out plates of ham bread and preserved vegetables. "But it's better than nothing." "It's perfect," Clara said. All of this is perfect. They ate together around the table, the first meal Clara had shared as Joe's wife. The children chattered about horses and dogs and whether Benny would ever grow taller than Tommy. I will, Benny insisted. I eat more vegetables. That's not how it works, dummy. Thomas. Clara's voice was warning. Sorry, Ma. Sorry, Benny. After supper, Walker and Martha said their goodbyes. You take care of yourself, Martha told Clara. And if you ever need anything at all, you send word. I'll come. Thank you, Martha, for everything. Thank me by being happy. Martha squeezed her hands. That's all the thanks I need. Walker tipped his hat. Congratulations, Mrs. Callahan. You picked a good one. I know. They rode away into the fading light. Clara watched until they disappeared over the ridge. You okay? Joe asked, coming up behind her. More than okay. She leaned back against him. I keep waiting for something to go wrong. Nothing's going to go wrong. How do you know? Because we won't let it. He wrapped his arms around her. Whatever comes, we face it together. That's what marriage means. Even if another crazy ex-husband shows up. You got any more of those? No. Silas was my one and only mistake. Then we're safe. Joe kissed her hair. Come inside. It's getting cold. That night, Clara became Joe's wife in every sense of the word. She'd been afraid. After Silas, she'd thought she might never want to be touched again. But Joe was patient, gentle. He asked permission for everything. He stopped when she tensed. He whispered words of love against her skin. We don't have to do anything you don't want, he said. I want this, she told him. I want you. And she did. For the first time in her life, she wanted this. Afterward, she lay with her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Joe. I didn't think I could ever feel like this again. Like what? Safe, happy, whole. She traced circles on his chest. You gave me that. You gave it to yourself, Clara. I just provided a place for it to grow. She smiled. You're surprisingly poetic for a rancher. I have hidden depths. Apparently. They lay in silence for a while. Clara felt herself drifting toward sleep. Clara. I want to adopt the children. Legally, give them my name. Make them Callahans for real. Clara's eyes snapped open. You can do that. Walker says yes. It takes some paperwork, but it's possible. You'd really do that? They're already mine in my heart. I just want to make it official. Clara sat up, looked at him. This man who kept surprising her with his goodness. Yes, she said. Yes, let's do it. Yeah. They deserve to be Callahans. They deserve to have a father who loves them. Joe pulled her back down. Then it's settled. We'll start the paperwork next week. Clara closed her eyes. For the first time in years, she fell asleep without fear. 3 months later, the adoption was finalized. They celebrated with a special dinner. Clara made a cake lopsided and too sweet, but the children didn't care. We're really Callahans now, Benny asked for the 10th time. Really and truly, Joe said. So you can never leave us. Never ever. What if we're bad? Then I'll still stay, and we'll figure out how to be better together. Benny nodded solemnly. That's fair. Emmy had been quiet all evening. After dinner, she pulled Clara aside. Mama, can I talk to you? Of course, baby. What is it? Emmy hesitated. I've been thinking about changing my name. Your name? But your name is beautiful. I mean my last name. I know I'm a Callahan now legally, but I was wondering. She bit her lip. Would it be okay if I started using it at school when I introduce myself? Clara's heart swelled. Emmy, you can use whatever name makes you happy. Really? Really? Emmy threw her arms around Clara. Thank you, Mama. Thank you. What's going on? Tommy appeared in the doorway. Emmy's going to start using Callahan at school. I already am. Tommy shrugged. Have been since the wedding. Clara stared at him. You have? Yeah, the other kids were asking who my pa was, and I said Joe Callahan. Seemed easier than explaining everything. You never told me. I didn't think it was a big deal. Tommy paused. Is it a big deal? Clara pulled him into the hug with Emmy. No, baby. It's the best deal. The seasons turned. Summer came hot and dry. Clara learned to work the land alongside Joe, planting, harvesting, tending the animals. Her hands, once soft from years of indoor work, grew rough and strong. The children thrived. Tommy shot up 3 inches and started helping Joe with the heavy work. Emmy discovered a talent for cooking and began experimenting with recipes from Martha's old cookbook. Benny remained. Benny cheerful, curious, always asking questions. Pa, why is the sky blue? Pa, where do babies come from? Pa, can horses dream? Joe answered every question with patience and often with humor. Horses definitely dream, he told Benny. They dream about running through fields of carrots. Really? Would I lie to you? Yes. Fair point. Fall arrived, bringing cooler weather and the harvest. They worked from dawn to dusk, storing food for winter. Clara's body ached at the end of each day, but it was a good ache, an earned ache. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sun set, Clara felt something shift inside her. Joe? Yeah. I think I'm pregnant. Joe went very still. You think? I'm not sure. It's been a few weeks since, well, and I've been feeling sick in the mornings. Sick. The way I felt with the others. Joe turned to face her. His eyes were wide. Clara, are you telling me we're having a baby? I think so. I need to see a doctor to be sure, but you think so? Yes. For a long moment, Joe just stared at her. Then his face broke into the biggest smile she'd ever seen. We're having a baby. We might be having a baby. We're having a baby. He jumped up, pulled her to her feet and spun her around. Clara, we're having a baby. Joe, put me down. I'll be sick. He set her down but couldn't stop grinning. Sorry, I'm just... He ran his hands through his hair. I never thought I'd have this again. After Ruth and Lily, I thought that part of my life was over. It's not over. No. He took her face in his hands. It's just beginning. They told the children that night. Tommy took it in stride. Cool. I always wanted to be a big brother. You already are a big brother, Emmy pointed out. Yeah, but now I'll be even bigger. Benny had concerns. Will the baby take my room? No, baby. We'll build another room. Will you still love me? Clara crouched down. Benny, look at me. I will love you forever, no matter what. Nothing and no one will ever change that. What about the new baby? I'll love the new baby too. And you know what? You'll love the baby. You'll be such a good big brother. Benny thought about this. Can I teach the baby to ride horses? When the baby's old enough, absolutely. Okay. Benny nodded. Then I'm okay with it. Emmy hugged Clara last. I'm happy for you, Mama. Thank you, baby. You deserve this. You deserve all the happiness in the world. So do you, Emmy. So do you. Winter returned, but this time Clara wasn't afraid of it. She watched the snow fall and remembered the blizzard that had brought her to Joe's door. A year ago, she'd been running for her life. Now she was building one. The baby grew inside her. Clara's belly swelled. Joe fussed over her, constantly bringing her tea, making her rest, rubbing her aching feet at night. You don't have to do all this, she told him. Yes, I do. I've done this 3 times before. I know how it works. But you've never done it with me. He kissed her belly. And I intend to do it right. In February, with snow falling thick outside, Clara went into labor. It was easier than her previous births, maybe because she was healthier, maybe because she wasn't afraid. Joe stayed by her side the entire time, holding her hand, wiping her brow, telling her she was the strongest woman he'd ever known. "You're doing great, Clara. You're so close." "I can't." "Yes, you can. One more push. Just one more." She pushed, and then she heard it, the cry of a newborn. "It's a girl," the midwife said. "A beautiful baby girl." Joe cut the cord. The midwife cleaned the baby and placed her in Clara's arms. She was tiny, perfect, with a tuft of dark hair and her father's eyes. "Hello, little one," Clara whispered. "Welcome to the world." Joe sat beside her, tears streaming down his face. "She's beautiful. She looks like you." "Poor kid." Clara laughed weakly. "What should we name her?" Joe was quiet for a moment. "What about Ruth, after my first wife?" Clara's heart swelled. "Ruth Callahan, it's perfect." The children came in to meet their sister. Emmy cried. Tommy pretended not to cry. Benny wanted to hold her immediately. "Be careful," Clara warned. "Support her head." "I know, Mama. I'm not stupid." "Nobody said you were baby." Benny held Ruth with surprising gentleness. "Hi, Ruth. I'm your brother Benny. I'm going to teach you to ride horses." Ruth blinked up at him and yawned. "She likes me," Benny announced. "She does," Clara agreed. "She really does." That night, after the children were asleep and Ruth was nestled in the cradle Joe had built, Clara and Joe lay in bed together. "Thank you," Clara said. "For what?" "For everything. For taking us in. For loving us. For giving me this life." Joe pulled her close. "You gave me just as much, Clara. More, maybe." "I don't see how that's possible." "Then let me explain." He propped himself up on one elbow. "A year ago, I was a ghost. I woke up every morning wondering why I bothered. I went through the motions because I didn't know what else to do. And then you fell at my gate, half frozen, half dead, with 3 children and more courage than anyone I'd ever met." "I wasn't courageous. I was desperate." "Same thing sometimes." He brushed hair from her face. "You reminded me what it felt like to care about something. To fight for something. To love something. You gave me a reason to live, Clara. And now you've given me a daughter." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "I love you, Joe." "I love you too, forever." "Forever's a long time. Not long enough." He kissed her, and Clara let herself sink into it. Into him. Into this life she'd never dared to dream of. Outside, the snow continued to fall. But inside the house on Crow Creek Ranch, there was only warmth. In the spring, Clara walked out to the ridge where Joe had proposed. She carried Ruth in her arms. The baby was 3 months old now, fat and happy, with a laugh that sounded like bells. "Look, little one." Clara pointed at the valley below. "That's your home. That's where your family lives." Ruth gurgled and grabbed at Clara's hair. "You're going to grow up safe here. You're going to grow up loved. You're never going to know what it feels like to be afraid of the people who are supposed to protect you." Clara thought about her own childhood, about her father who'd sold her, about Silas who'd broken her, about all the years she'd spent believing she was worthless. She wasn't worthless. She knew that now. She was a survivor, a fighter, a mother, a wife. She was Clara Callahan, and she was finally, truly free. "Mama." She turned. The children were running toward her, Joe not far behind. "Mama, Pa says we can have a dog." "He did." "I said we could discuss it," Joe corrected. "That means yes," Tommy said confidently. "That means we'll discuss it." "So, yes," Clara laughed. She handed Ruth to Emmy and walked to meet her husband. "A dog?" she asked. "The kids have been asking for months." "And you caved." "I prefer to think of it as a strategic retreat." She slipped her hand into his. They walked back toward the house, the children racing ahead, Ruth babbling in Emmy's arms. Joe. Yeah. I'm happy. He squeezed her hand. Me too. I didn't think I'd ever be able to say that. For a long time I thought happy was something that happened to other people. And now, Clara looked at her family, at the children who'd survived alongside her, at the baby who represented everything she'd never dared to hope for, at the man who'd taught her that love didn't have to hurt. Now I know better, she said. Now I know that happy is something you build, day by day, choice by choice, with the people who matter. Joe stopped walking. He turned to face her, took both her hands. You built this, Clara. You, not me. I just provided the lumber. We built it together. We did. He kissed her forehead. And we'll keep building. Every day. For the rest of our lives. Clara looked up at him. This man who'd saved her, who'd loved her, who'd given her everything she'd ever wanted. Promise, she asked. Promise. And he kept that promise. Every single day. For the rest of their lives. They grew old together on that ranch. They raised 4 children who grew into good, strong people. They buried friends and welcomed grandchildren and weathered storms that would have broken lesser people. But they never broke, because they had each other. Clara May Callahan, who'd once fallen to her knees in the snow and begged God to let her children live, died at the age of 73. She died in her own bed in her own home, surrounded by the family she'd built. Her last words were to Joe, who held her hand until the very end. Thank you, she whispered, for stopping me, for not letting me walk away. You were never walking away, he told her. You were walking toward. You just didn't know it yet. She smiled, closed her eyes, and let go. Joe buried her on the ridge where he'd proposed under a sky as wide and blue as forever. Their children stood beside him. Their grandchildren played nearby. And on the headstone, he carved the only words that mattered, Clara May Callahan. Beloved wife, devoted mother. The bravest woman who ever lived. She had walked 300 miles through snow and fear and doubt, and she had finally found her way home.